esports community at their school as well. So good to see. Good to see.
Yeah, this matchup is always kind of a tricky one. You know, it's been kind of going back and forth for basically as long as Hearthstone's been around. You know, you'll hear the Druid players say it like, "Oh no, we beat the handlocks in this matchup."
Yeah.
And you'll hear the handlock players say it. They're like, "No,
no.
we crushed those Druids in this matchup." I think really what it comes down to is how the draws end up matching up. So for instance, Washington's got this Shade and Exramus very early. Washington State happens to have a Hellfire, but I don't think they're hanging on to that card necessarily, unless they think this is maybe one of those aggro Druid decks that's been becoming ever popular lately.
Yeah, aggro Druid. A lot of people have been saying it's becoming popular because Spell Reaver is a tough card for Secret Paladin to do.
Yeah.
They a lot of times they empty their hand. They don't usually run Outdoor Peacekeepers or Big Game Hunter. Owling it doesn't do anything. In fact, it helps them. And so it's really hard for them to deal with that. If you get 1 or 2 hits in with a Fel Reaver, all of a sudden you're looking at, just combo or even one piece of the combo for lethal. So looks like it is going to be mid-range Druid though. That seems to be the more tournament-focused Druid deck.
Yeah, Mountain Giant going second is not really the card you want in this matchup. Oftentimes you'll have to expend resources a little early to try to get on the board and fighting. So this card ends up staying in your hand a lot of times. But this is really, I think, one of the biggest difference makers in this matchup is how Shade and Exramus lines up versus the Warlock's hand. So it's clearly one of the better early game plays that you can make, but they happen to have a counter to it right away. Now, the question here is, do they want to play the Hellfire right away, or would they rather use the Twilight Drake? And I think at this spot, they'd rather get the Twilight Drake on the board, hope to maybe get a piloted Treader or something else from their opponent, and then try to Hellfire.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of different things can happen here. But even if the Twilight Drake goes uncontested for a turn, it really sends a big message to Washington State exactly how University of Washington's hand is constructed. And so this is sort of, in addition to being an extremely strong play, it's also sort of an information probe. You know, this will kind of help them determine how they should play the rest of their cards.
Beep boop, I'm a Twilight Drake.
Not really,
information probe.
Not really quite what I was going for there.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Not information drone.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Beep boop, I'm a Twilight Drake. There you go. There's a probe for it.
I don't think Washington State's going to require any additional pylons to get these guys up and rolling.
Oh, man. Well, Harrison Jones seems like the only play here.
Well, you say that, but, I actually don't mind just drawing a card with Wrath in this spot.
Just, testing the waters.
Yeah, I don't
sending
really,
out a probe of your own.
I don't really think it's that bad of an idea. And, sort of now the dream of Harrison Jones on the Jirax's hands is dead. But there's a couple reasons I don't mind drawing a card in this spot. The number one is because you have the Emperor Thoris on your hand, and leading into that turn, you are just going to want a couple extra cards in your hand. And the other thing it does too is it just challenges. It's like already directly challenged by the Twilight Drake, so you're not really accomplishing anything with this play other than just dealing 5 damage with it to a Twilight Drake, which sticks around on the board. And so when are you going to play this Wrath after this? I mean, are you going to play it on turn 6? I don't think so.
Well, next turn you are planning on playing Emperor Thorsan, so it will be reduced to 1 mana. So then you can combine it with Ancient of War the following turn on turn 7.
I think the Twilight Drake's going to get used up on the Emperor Thorsan after that, though. Looking at the way that the plans are playing out, it's just not like the greatest turn in the world. It's not a bad play, but it's not a good play, and I think it's really the only way to describe it.
Yeah. Well, this Shade of Naxxramas is all of a sudden going to be out of Hellfire range. Could be a big deal how long that puppy stays stealth. Washington University of Washington, they're going to have to be worried about Shadow Flame for this turn. So they might try and cash in on it.
Wow, the Piloted Shredder actually such a good pickup here. This will allow them to use the Wrath.
Yes, it will.
Instead, there's not too many miracle draws at this stage for University of Washington, but I think Piloted Shredder is one of them.
Yeah, and they hold on to the Shade. They say if you have Shadow Flame, go ahead and use it.
Yeah, which I don't really mind here. I think if they get a Shadow Flame out of Washington State, they're pretty okay with this, just given how much it's occupying from Washington State. Like, sure, they do clear out the front half of Pilot Shredder, do take care of the Shade Naxxramas, but they just give initiative over to University of Washington. So there are some unintended consequences of this play here. Mountain Giant, on the other hand, pretty tough for this one to go wrong. University of Washington's only got 3 cards in their hands, so Big Game Hunter is about as unlikely as it gets right now. You've played the Mountain Giant early. They have low cards in their hand. There's nothing to indicate that they would have a Big Game Hunter in their hand. I think you can just go for it right now and just try to maybe ramp up the pressure on your own side.
Yeah. And no BGH picked up, so now they're going to be vulnerable to a Shadow Flame from the Mountain Giant as well. And the question also becomes, when do you start pushing damage if you're University of Washington? When do you start trying to get value out of these creatures and try and put your opponent closer to combo range?
Well, that's the tricky part about this matchup is how to allocate your resources. And that's the thing that I think makes it so tough from the Druid side is that they have a lot of different ways to play this. They can either play the damage game or they can kind of fight for attrition. It's just a matter of which tools are dictating where you go with it. And so because of that, I'm not really sure which direction they're going to take. They're going to attack first to get some more information.
Why, hello there.
Yeah, that one's not too shabby. I mean, getting a 4-4 out of this. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Mortal Coil won't take care of the Shade because it is stealth, but Shadow Flame is going to wipe out a lot of this board presence.
I think they realize that, you know what, I don't think we can unstealth this Shade because we'll be very vulnerable to a big Shadow Flame. They're pretty much all in on this one Shade of Naxxramas. They can keep this stealth, you know, not attack, not put some damage onto Washington State, and then only combo, just combo, would end up being lethal at some point in the game. So,
yeah, this card does get increasingly dangerous for the handlock player as this game goes on. But Washington State's gonna set this up as a multi-turn attack here. They're gonna Hellfire right now.
That's brave.
And then look for the Shadow Flame at another point in this game to take out the rest of that the rest of that Shady Naxxramas. But gosh, I mean, this is rough. I mean, you're standing on the Millhouse Mana Storm too. You're not really accomplishing a lot with this Shadow Flame, but I guess like looking at the board positions, what other options do you have? You know, short, Ironbeak Owl attack this here. You know, not like the worst thing in the world for you. But I think this does start to give University of Washington a little bit of information about the way that your hand is constructed. Maybe they can find a way to take advantage of it.
Why, hello there, Dr. Boom. Nice of you to join us.
Yeah, I still think in this spot I like the Emperor Thorson a little bit more. You know, you're making those cards a little bit cheaper. You're able to take out the Ironbeak Owl.
It's not vulnerable to BGH.
A lot of benefits to actually foregoing Dr. Boom or Ancient Allure this turn. But this is a totally okay spot to be in, by the way, when all three of your plays are very good.
Yeah.
Like, you're not like, oh, geez, what do I do?
Do I draw 2 cards? Do I put boom bots on the board? Do I reduce the cost of everything?
Yeah, but this is actually, you know, the Dr. Boom ended up being a little bit of a trap here. I think this is exactly what Washington State wanted to see, given their hand structure.
BGH Shadow Flame is full clear.
Yep, it's a pretty rough one. Now, the thing about it, though, is they are starting to fall into these lower life total ranges. So, you know, where these boombots land do matter a lot. They won't be too terribly comfortable if these deal 6 damage to face. I mean, that's pretty much the worst result for them right now.
Yeah. And that's going to be a full board clear for Washington State. If they decide to go through it, and they do. To the face, to the face.
Well, you know, you're at 15, so even if they had combo, you'd be a little bit out of range. Whoa! Now, that guy could really do some damage later on. I mean, once again, though, here's the thing. That Shadow Flame...
That's uprooted.
That Shadow Flame bought a lot of value. But what it didn't do is buy initiative. And so University of Washington is going to continue to have that at every step of the way. And this is where the Druid wins a lot of its games, is when it's the one that's continuing to force their opponent to react. If Washington State has to be on defense the entire game, they don't get an opportunity to attack, and that's when Druid can close it out with that big damage with Force Nature and Savage Roll.
Yeah. Very
so
true.
they're going to have to find a way to actually get control of this game at some point. Even though right now I think they're doing a great job on the card advantage battle, it's going to be made up with Ancient Allure. It's made up just for the fact that the Druid is just drawing such heavy-hitting cards in the late game.
And with University of Washington drawing multiple cards that turn, Washington State's got to be afraid that, hey, we're going into turn 10. We're going to have to probably try and build a wall here in order to survive. I don't know if we can afford to play around combo yet.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a big part of it, too, is can they even afford to play around combo just yet? Because, sure, say you extended this turn, your opponent gets through it. You know, every single turn of the game, you got to worry about it. If you've committed to worrying about it for one turn, you likely have to worry about it the rest of the game. And so I actually kind of like the life tap from them.
Yeah, life tap allows them to play Molt Giant and Anti-Killbot next turn. So they count up this turn, next turn this turn they get out of it with a wall, next turn they get out of it with a heal bot. So it's a good planning ahead. the claw.
Even as desperate as Innervate Swipe, even, you know, if it came to that,
Yeah.
that cause. And it still does draw you 2 cards, too. I mean, you don't have Force Nature or Savage Roar yet, so just digging deeper in your deck is totally fine, too. I mean, you aren't 25 or 24, so you're not really worried about the damage. I think you're just worried about the minion combat. Like, can you actually win it with your opponent having just bigger minions than you?
Yeah.
And so that's really where my instinct was with the taunt. But they're going to go for the draw. I mean, there definitely are some major, major draws right now.
Whoa!
And that is a huge one right now. Kill the 8-8, kill the 2-3, 14 power on board, go ahead. That was the best possible result for them.
Yes, it was. And I mean, they've been through probably about half their deck, so it was, you know, not super likely, but that big game hunter, he was itching to get out of there.
He's like, me. This is the only spot I'm super useful in. Outside of Dr. Boom.
Don't draw me later to kill a...
You know, I've noticed, okay, so big game hunter, like, he's clearly, like, hunting for game. He finds a lot of Dr. Booms and Mountain Giants and, like Core Hounds and just all kinds of weird stuff. I can't remember the last time I actually killed, like, a beast with a big game hunter.
The beast.
That's the best one to kill.
Yeah. Usually it's like my
and you get the side quest
gets
from
the
Fink
beast
Linehorn.
from, like, a web spinner. I end up killing that, so...
Usually. TJ's just never lucky.
The beast again!
And I know he's got big game hunter. He won a joust with it earlier.
Well, is that lethal? I believe it is. Drew the Claw plus
13,
Savage Roar.
21. 22, actually, with that hero power. So, I mean, this is the danger of playing the Handlock deck versus Druid. If you cannot seize initiative, you will end up dying to this kind of damage. But really, the big catalyst to this was that Ancient of Lore. It picked up the big game hunter, dealt with an 8-8 taunt, and opened the floodgates for the damage to come pouring in.
Yeah.